Welcome everybody to the Ogden Way Podcast, the place where we tell Ogden stories by telling the stories of Ogden's people. And today we'll be telling the story of Ogden Fire Department Chief Michael Slater. Chief Slater, welcome. Appreciate you coming to us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I most appreciate you being my chief. How's it been so far?
It's been good.
I mean, other than having to work for me.
That's been actually fantastic. It's been good. It's a challenge, which I've always enjoyed a challenge. It's a lot of newness. Mike Matthew was a fantastic fire chief. Did that for 30 years. Has been there my whole career, and had laid a solid foundation for the fire department. That being said, there was a mass movement in our fire department when Chief Matthew left and the promotions happened. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of promotions. Every one of our chief officers are new. Not new to the organization, but new to their positions. And to be able to work side by side with them and watch them grow and learn as I grow and learn has been a blessing in the last 5 months.
Well, it's been a blessing having you to be chief. For the listeners and viewers, what you're referring to is part of the timing of Chief Matthew's retirement was we had our deputy chief, Shelby Willis, went to Farmington to be the chief of fire there. And we lost our fire marshal, Kevin Brown, to retirement as well.
Yeah.
And so that's about half the command staff right there. And so when you took over chief, you were without most of the command staff.
Yeah, we probably 2 months without a command staff. So I obviously was fortunate enough to take Chief Matthew's position to head the organization, which left the vacancy of the deputy chief over medical operations, the deputy chief over fire operations. Kevin Brown was a fantastic fire marshal. He had an opportunity to take a deputy chief spot in Idaho, which was fantastic. And so it was an empty office there for a while.
It was. With
a lot of work to do and a lot of learning and good firefighters that surrounded us to make sure the community was taken care of as we changed the maybe image of the administrative staff.
So now Chief Slater then was deputy chief over medical operations. And so when Mike Matthew left for retirement, we promoted Deputy Chief Slater to Chief Slater, which left both deputy chiefs positions open and the fire marshal. So just to be clear, he was doing 4 jobs for 2 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we had good help. We had a deputy fire marshal that stepped up.
Yes, he did.
He was an acting fire marshal and since became our full-time fire marshal, and he's done a fantastic job. And to be quite honest, like we went through a phase where we just had fires. And within the first month of being chief, I think we had 4 or 5 big fires in the city. And it was just, when stuff like that happens, you just have to grind.
Oh, yeah.
And it was nothing but put your head down and go to work. And the men and women of Ogden Fire are fantastic. They're good human beings, and I call them dogs, right? They're dogs, and I know you call them horses, right? And team members, and they're workers. And so I had full confidence and faith that they would take care of the stuff on the ground and would just keep responding as we figured out the administrative office. And since then, we promoted 2 fantastic deputy chiefs, a fantastic fire marshal, 2 fantastic battalion chiefs, a handful of captains. And so there's just been some movement and growth in the organization, and they're force multipliers. Like I look at the fine men and women in that city, in the city and in the department, and they're force multipliers. You put one good leader in position, and they develop 3 or 4 good leaders. And those 3 or 4 good leaders develop more leaders. And so I think it's an exciting time for Ogden Fire. I think people are happy. They're excited to come to work. And there's been some good changes.
Yeah. Morale's high.
Morale's high.
Yeah. I feel it when I'm with the department. Tell me what you mean when you call our men and women of the department dogs. Just because it's such a complimentary mindset.
It is, yeah. And I got asked to speak at the Salt Lake Valley Training Alliance a few years back when I was a deputy. And I had some people from Salt Lake, some battalion chiefs from Salt Lake City say, there was a time when we could recruit firefighters from Ogden to come to Salt Lake. We can't do that anymore. So why is that? What makes somebody what makes them want to stay at Ogden? And I'm honest. And I said, Ogden's not for everybody. But if you want to be good at your craft, if you want to truly help people and be a good paramedic and a good firefighter, Ogden's your home. And I call them the dogs. And
because it's a mindset, it's a mentality.
It's a mentality.
Right.
We don't worry. We're in competition with ourselves. We're not in competition with other people. And so when you look at how busy your department is, and we call it the unit hour utilization, and you're looking at the data that tells you how busy you are, we're up in the upper echelon, and it's the perfect place to be. If you look at the medical side of the house, the busier you are, the less errors you make, to a point. Yeah, so first pass intubation, IV misses, medication errors. Because you do it so often, you're really good at it. The same thing goes with fires. To be able to perform a rescue or a strong fire attack, you have to do it time and time again. And I feel like we're in the perfect sweet spot of that. And many people say Ogden's too busy, and I say we're in the sweet spot. We're not too slow, we're not too busy, we're in the zone.
Yeah, and I like to call them horses because we do hire men and women that can carry a lot of load. Mm-hmm. And that's where my mindset comes from is I think you're kind of thinking we got people that are fighters and they can push through challenge and they seek out challenge, right? And they want to be a dog on a bone in terms of having that mission and drive for excellence and success. Yes. And that's the kind of firefighter we look for and kind of select for. And I'm really proud of that. But I also, when I call our heavy lifters horses, it means it kind of reflects my mindset of it's my job to feed our horses because they're carrying so much load that you can't keep putting that on people's backs and not feed them. And feed them means treating them well, compensating them fairly, making sure that they have the training and the equipment that they deserve and that they need to in order to be successful, but also not taking advantage of that workload. Yeah. Not taking it for granted and thinking that there's no end in sight for them in terms of how much weight they'll carry, right? So being mindful of staffing resources around them to make sure that we don't push them over the edge of what's healthy and safe and also what makes them great in terms of the volume, right?
Yeah.
Staying in that sweet spot.
Yeah. And we try to find motivators. Like everybody's motivators are different. And I think the leaders we have in our organization now know that. And somebody's motivator may be a thank you, right? Somebody's motivator may be a high five, or some people's motivator are just more work, and so you have to find that uniqueness. And the fire department, the fire profession is different. You're with these men and women for 48 hours. Yeah. And so you're there when they're having problems at home. You're there when they're maybe struggling with a marriage or a kid. You're there when they're tired. Their kids come to the station. They're missing graduations. They're missing events. And so it's a uniqueness that Christmas morning, Christmas Day, mm-hmm. Like you're missing birthdays. And I'm just really proud of the environment we've built over the years, because I remember growing up in the fire service, my kids would come to the fire station on their birthday, and the fire captain and the engineer and the paramedics were their aunts and uncles. And my kids grew up in that environment. And I think it's so valuably important that we continue that trend where this is your home and your mom and dad are here to work and serve a total stranger and give a total stranger everything they have at all hours of the day and night. And it's a profession to be proud of. And I think we've instilled that into our men and women. It's a profession to be proud of and a department within the profession to be proud of. I agree. So do you mind sharing your why, your purpose? Yeah. My road down fire service was very, very unique in my opinion. I never had plans of joining the fire department. I grew up on a farm out in Slaterville. Weird, Slater from Slaterville. My dad had 40 acres of land out there, and we hauled alfalfa and we raced horses, and I really didn't know what I was going to do, but I was going to do something in the construction world, something with my hands. And then when I was young, I was probably 15 years old. My mom was young. She was 35, 36. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And our lives changed. And I watched my dad, who was, to this day, is still one of the strongest men I know, handle this. He was an old farmer, and he just doubled down and went to work. And I watched my mom at a young age thinking that she was going to pass away. And she had a bone marrow transplant down, and she's from Texas. So she went down there, had a bone marrow transplant, fought this cancer, went into remission. And I saw the way that the nursing staff and the oncologists took care of my mom. And so I thought, I'm going to be an oncologist. Like, I'm going to go down this road. If I can be an influence or impact in somebody's life like they were in my mom's and my brother's and my dad's and my life, then that's a valiant cause and such a great profession. So I started down that road. Well, I'm not very smart. So I started down the college route, and I loved college. I loved learning. But what I didn't like is not being able to work. And I had a friend of mine whose dad was a captain here at Ogden. He said, Mike, while you go down this route of med school, why don't you get your EMT, maybe look at paramedic, maybe look at joining the fire department while you get your education. And I was hooked.
Yeah.
You know, I graduated in 96 and 97. I was a volunteer firefighter reservist for Ogden City, and I never looked back, and I wouldn't change it for the world. The impact we've been able to have on individuals has been so fantastic.
So just to clarify for listeners and viewers, I've vetted the man. He is smart. He's also very modest.
Yeah.
So I could actually see you in that setting. It might be almost like an academic setting.
Yeah.
Where it's a different kind of work, where you want to use your hands and your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love to read, and I love school.
Oh yeah.
Like I love it, and I'm a sponge, and my wife kind of gives me a hard time sometimes because I just want to read something and try it. And it's, I love school, and I do love the academics. I encourage my kids to do that, and I've loved it. Like I said, I just loved every step of my career so far, and I just wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, I think that to tie it together, a couple of things you've already said is the honor in the profession and the pride we have in our department, and connecting that with your why, and understanding the why of the men and women of the department too. I think it's very service oriented. It's very selfless. I see it's fun to be in this job and to have, for lack of a better term, access to the ins and outs and the ongoing kind of day-to-day operations of the department. And when I go on site to like a structure fire, there's almost like an energy. They're there and they're happy, but they're not happy that there's a fire, but they're happy that they're prepared and ready to serve and respond and meet people in their time of need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's a great point. Luck favors the prepared, right? And
yeah.
I've taught incident command across the state of Utah for years and years and years. And I thoroughly enjoy learning the fire science, like how fire behaves in certain environments, and then being able to go sit in a command setting and teach the younger generation how to handle an incident, because they're all unique. You're going from this fire to this fire to this fire, and every one of them present different challenges. But if you're prepared and you have the understanding of how fire behaves, how fire works, and like how to save lives, and what portion of the house is safe at what time, then it's just been a passion of mine. Teaching the future leaders this, I've got a shelf life. And
we all do.
Yeah, and every public safety servant has a shelf life. And if you were to ask me what my greatest accomplishment would be outside of my family and my sons and my daughter and my wife, it would be the fact that I was able to pass something on to the next generation. Because we always talk about how we stand on the shoulders of giants. Mm-hmm. Like I look at the officers that developed me, and I look at the officers that developed them, and we owe it to our community, and we owe it to the fire service to develop the next generation. And that's why I have a passion for teaching and education.
Yeah. I always say that the best leaders replace themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Developing the next leader behind us. And there's definitely a lot of that in the department. It's been, it's fun to be a part of.
Yeah. So
as we look to the future of our department, I mean, you and I have talked a lot about what's next and what are we going to do differently and what mark do we want to leave. And I mean, it was built into your interview, and
yeah,
taking your why, taking your experience, taking the foundation that you inherited and helped to build yourself. What are some of the things that you want to do moving forward to help build on that?
Well, I've always wondered why we're so reactive. And when you look at public safety, historically, it's been something happens, you call 911, the firefighters and EMTs and paramedics respond. And that's been a cycle we've had for year after year after year. It happens in healthcare. Like we treat diabetes, but what do we do to stop diabetes? And so my plan is to prevent accidents from happening. And if you were to say the number one thing that you wish you could do in the fire service, and I would say put ourselves out of business. Because if we put ourselves out of business, that means people are having less heart attacks. That means there's less fires happening. And so that's the why. So how do we get to that point? That's the goal. So how do we get to that goal? And I read a book, The Black Swan. I know you and I have spoken about this in the past, and it talks about 9/11. And had the guy that implemented the safety protocols through TSA in the airports done that a week before the bombing and prevented the bombing, A, we'd never know that happened, and B, he'd be crucified, right? Mm-hmm. Because he put this cumbersome process in front of us. And I don't want to put cumbersome processes in front of us, but I want a safer, more resilient community. So how do we do that? We launch a community risk reduction team that goes out and finds a risk to our community and prevents an emergency from ever happening. I look at the wild urban interface, the wildfires that happen. You look at what happened in California in the Palisades fire, and could we prevent that from ever happening in Ogden? And I think we can. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes ingenuity. I think we can do that through some community risk reduction. And we may never have a wildfire in Ogden like the Palisades, but I would want to look back 20 years and say it's because we were prepared and we caught things further upstream. So that's what you do with prevention and like the wildland urban interface. You do the same thing in buildings. We build more resilient structures. We sprinkle them. We put fire safety precautions in place. And we have a very strong fire prevention team that does that. So there's prevention ways. And then you look at community health. Like, is this the right way to take care of people? They have an emergency. We take them to the hospital. The physicians look at them. They send them home. What's the follow-up care? So when we look at overdoses or we look at heart attacks or we look at falls, how do we prevent those from happening? And that's through a community health program. The thing that's different in today's generation that was different 27 years ago when I started was information. Like ChatGPT was never around, right? These analytics were never around. So now we can be surgical in how we respond. We can say this area of our community is prone to falls. So let's get out there and harden homes and prevent people from falling before it becomes an emergency. This area of our community has a higher overdose rate than other areas. So let's get in and let's educate this community. And I'm really excited to launch those programs in conjunction with partners. It doesn't all have to be on the back of the fire department. It doesn't all have to be on the back of the city. There's good people in this world that want to be involved and want to help, and we have to leverage them.
Right. And we just kicked off our community partner summit we had almost 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Where you were involved in the active and healthy community component of that entire conference. And I look forward to seeing you engage more with that network and finding all the partners you need in order to develop this model that you and I are looking at putting in place. And I think that if when we look back, I think prevention and risk reduction and community health, those are going to be kind of what we bring to the table in our tenure here, right?
Yeah, I agree.
In addition to make sure that we're full staff, have a staff that's healthy and happy and
some retention so
right.
that we don't have to retrain people.
Right, because without that, we're not going to be able to do any of the other things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that, we've already taken some steps, you and I.
Yeah.
As soon as you became chief, we had some high-profile structure fires. Well, even when you're deputy chief too, but the state's seeing them actually, of which we've unfortunately been a part of it.
Yeah.
And we were pretty aggressive in our response, of course, tactically in the moment, also in the investigation and the follow-up. Can you talk about some of the risk reduction that we've been doing with Fire Marshal Parr and
so
risk reduction team?
So the International Fire Code allows us to do certain things, and we understand the balance that has to be between a builder trying to put affordable housing in the city and a fire department that's trying to protect its community. And so after that last fire, the big development that caught fire there on 17th Street, 18th Street, we worked with our partners. I scheduled a meeting with 54 contractors that are building in Ogden, and I asked them for help. I didn't come down with a stick. I asked them for help. I asked them to lock the front door. We could have a heavy hand and push these things.
And we would.
And we would.
We would.
In a heartbeat. We
right.
would. Right? But let's go with least invasive to most invasive, and let's ask them, for the sake of them and the sake of our community, to lock the front door. And that's exactly what happened. They started securing all first floor openings. They started fencing. They started putting securities on staff to do fire watches. They put cameras up, and they responded to our ask and our call. And credit goes to them and the fire prevention division that kept their foot on the pedal. And when we didn't receive those fire watch logs that we required, they asked for them, and they kept their foot on the pedal. Yep. So that prevented a lot of issues in the city, and it's ever going
back to the black swan
effect,
right? Mm-hmm. But and let's be clear that there's something about human nature when you immediately go stick instead of carrot.
Yeah.
We didn't. Not that we offered. I don't know. The carrot was almost built in. It's like we had a mutual interest in this case, and the builders responded the same way we wanted mostly. But if you come in hard and heavy, hard in the paint right out of the gate, there's just a human nature to resist. And so we wanted to okay, let's find out where the building community's at, but know that we know exactly where we're at and we're not going to tolerate or settle for lack of security on site anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, this is within our authority, and we're going to leverage those authorities to make sure we get to the outcome that we need. But thankfully, almost all of them responded positively.
Absolutely.
And the ones that didn't,
they might have got the stick.
we got the stick.
Yeah. Yeah, for being honest and transparent. But
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago through the coaches that I played football for, and when I was coaching youth football, that what people want is to be coached. They don't want to be yelled at. Like if you miss a block or you drop a pass, like you should have caught that.
Yeah.
You know you should have made that block. So having a negative impact by somebody yelling at you doesn't fix things. But having a coach that puts his arm around you and explains how much they care about you, they care about your project or your community or you as a player, that's the win. That's what raises the tide for everybody.
Yeah, right.
And that's the team buy-in.
That's leadership.
That's leadership, and that's what happened with the builders in Ogden. They all leaned in to help us out, and we've seen the fruits of that labor.
I know. I'm glad we got sites secured and moving forward. But I think what you just described is a lot about your philosophy and leadership, because you talk a lot about love and in leadership.
Yeah,
and love, and it applies to that example with the contractors too. It's whether you're dealing with and leading your team and your staff in the department or in the community or even with contractors, lead with love, but know that love does not mean that I won't hold you accountable.
absolutely.
It doesn't mean that I have a low standard, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to let you get away with things, right?
Yeah. I think, that brings up a good point. I was always told, that somebody is somebody to somebody. I mean, that's a lot of somebodies, right? Mm-hmm. But when we would respond on a homeless person at 3 a.m, or somebody that was unsheltered, that is somebody's son, that is somebody's daughter, that is somebody's loved one. And no matter what they're going through, they need to be loved. And maybe that's by a total stranger who puts their arm around them and helps them out. I told you a story the other day of a 20-year-old individual that was sleeping on couches and didn't know what to do. And I heard the story of 2 paramedics that showed up, bought the individual pizza, made sure they had a place to stay, and made sure that they had an avenue after they left to get that person long-term help. And I'm proud to say that between our homeless medical advocates and our homeless service advocates, we're taking care of people where they are. We have 2 amazing ladies working at Lantern House that work for Ogden Fire. They're meeting people every day, helping get them off the streets. Whether they get them into a nursing home, they get them into a rehab clinic, they get them into some long-term help through programs and housing. We're doing that, and we're changing a person's life one person at a time.
Yep.
And that's the key.
Well, that's absolutely the way it needs to be done. Is you got to meet people where they're at, and what that means is an individualized approach, having the whole menu and suite of options for help and support, but you can't just intervene or help somebody with the one-size-fits-all or with the extremes leading out. We got to have the whole menu, right? And
you look how impactful it is. Like, we always tell the story of a young man that we hired that was unsheltered. He was homeless. And when you sit down and talk to this young man and you ask why did you want to join the fire service? It was because a firefighter impacted him positively. A firefighter responded to him and his mother and his brother at a shelter and gave him a Gatorade and put their arm around him and was that role model at that point in time for that young man. Now that young man's joined the fire service and the force multiplier. How many lives has that young man changed because of the one person just putting his arm around him, the individual? So,
well, we've got the same life experiences in police too.
Yeah.
Officers that were former gang members that grew up in our high schools, involved in violence, have transformed their lives, and in large part because of the presence of an officer in their life that was a positive influence and helped them pivot. And those are the kind of people we want to make sure are meeting people where they're at, right?
Absolutely.
To help them go. But the example you shared about our firefighters taking that young man to lunch, getting him pizza, making sure he had the resources and connected to our homeless advocates, etc. You just explained like one small example of the community health model and the preventative model, where we didn't just respond to emergency, or in this case, maybe we ran into him at lunch or out in the community and took him to lunch. But that's kind of the idea, is we don't just respond, transport, and then go back and wait for the next. We're looking at following through and following up.
Yeah.
Right? And making sure that we're connecting with resources.
And what's the fix? You know, I've got stories, and I could spend my whole time here telling you war stories that nobody probably wants to hear. But I remember as a captain, that's where you and I actually first met.
Mm-hmm.
We thought about running for council, and you came to ride along at our station, and I had a fantastic team of dogs at that station. And I remember running into a home late one night, probably 11 o'clock at night, and there was this 9-10-year-old boy who was watching 2 TVs, whose mom was sick, whose grandma was there to help, but she was old and had her own life issues. And I watched these firefighters as they huddled around this young man, turn the TVs off, and asked if he had homework. And I got to witness that as they stayed in service. So if an emergency came in, they were going to respond. But at 10 o'clock at night, they were doing homework with this young man, trying to help give him a leg up and trying to help him understand the importance of schooling, education, of doing the right things. And there's so many stories like that I've had over my career. But that's the men and women of Ogden Fire. Always has been. As long as I'm here, it always will be. Lead with love, serve with love.
Yep. I remember on that shift that I did the ride along with you. So now Deputy Chief Matt Hess was the engineer at the time. That's the driver, and they take care of all the apparatus and mechanical stuff. I remember a call where we went out to help someone who needed to be transported to the hospital but couldn't get up or get out on their own, and it took quite a lot of doing to do it. But I just remember just watching the team and how they all worked together and the way just the compassion that they had was pretty impressive. Mixed with the ability to arrive on a scene where they have to be tactical and get after it on a structure fire, and they have the ability to be
it's the
whole spectrum of a human being.
It's a very unique profession because when you're on, you're on.
Oh yeah.
Right. And there's no room for discussion on all these things. Like you have, when seconds matter, you've got to make a decision. You've got to go as hard as you can go, and you just got to make it happen. And sometimes that puts you in some pretty scary situations. They can also back out of that and be some of the most compassionate people you've ever met. They're buying food for somebody. They're shoveling driveways. They just see a need to act, and they jump in. They put gas in people's cars. And there's just 2 different dynamics. You go from a bull in the china closet at times to the most compassionate, loving person that you've ever been around. And I can't say it enough, Mayor, how proud I am of just the city in general, but the men and women of Ogden Fire and how the city works in collaboration. I've never seen anything like it. I've talked to their fire chiefs across the country, and what Ogden has is unique because we care about each other as a city. The police chief's one of my good friends. I was on the SWAT team with him. Mm-hmm. I mess with him as much as I can, but when crap hits the fan, we're together.
Oh yeah.
And, I don't know if there's a better duo around.
There isn't. Hands down, there is not.
Yeah.
Unequivocal.
I'd pick him to be my corner any day.
Me too.
Yeah.
Pick both of you guys. And actually, I'm glad you said that because it's important to have a police chief and a fire chief that work together. And working together is one thing. Like really being tight and having the bond. And I mean, you mentioned it, so I'll just elaborate a little bit, but you guys had personal experiences on SWAT together, and you both grew up through the department together. You both started as reserves. You started from the ground up, right? And in fact, you spent a stint at Davis County as
some law enforcement.
Right, you did law enforcement, and they're EMT certified there.
Yep, paramedic certified.
Paramedic certified. Mm-hmm. So you have a good sense, plus your SWAT experience and training for what his needs and what they go through. But to have you two both that tight is so important and is a blessing for our city. It's also pretty fun.
Yeah.
You guys have fun together and you get things done together.
Yeah, and it's awesome being just that much better than the police department all the time.
All the time.
Right? All the time. Just that much better than the police department. But what I do appreciate about not just the police chief and my mayor and the city council and the city staff, but all of our firefighters is because we love each other, we have honest conversations. And I don't always agree with police. I don't always agree with city issues, but I do agree that if we all sit down in the same room, we'll hammer it out and we'll go in the same direction. And one thing that I've always been taught, and I give some credit to my dad and I give some credit to Chief Matthew, is we talk to people about issues. And we have a morning huddle every morning with my command staff, and we have hard conversations. Mm-hmm. This is what we're doing right. This is what we're doing wrong. This is what we need to stop doing. This is what we need to spend pay more attention to and spend more time doing. And they say the same thing to me. And in a very respectful way, we're gonna push this ship.
Yep.
We're gonna sail the ship across the ocean. It's gonna be.
He said ship.
Win.
Ship.
Yes.
With
ship.
a P.
With a P.
There you go.
Yeah.
Clarifying.
Yeah. Good.
So let's get back to our relationship with, I mean, I got to hire Chief Subi before you, and then I got to kind of get in the flow and get engaged and be involved in police operations to an appropriate level of, but now I get to do the same with you, and that means a lot to me. It means I got to select my chief, and we get to work together to become our chief and mayor, right?
Yeah.
What do we want our priorities to be? And we've agreed that we want to focus on prevention and community health, right? But we want to prioritize our people. But we talked about competition early on, and people should know we talk about everything in terms of competition, but it doesn't mean that we're in competitions with ourselves is what it means. It means that we don't want to be the best at the cost to anyone else's performance or well-being, right?
Yeah.
So I like to look at our performance and our competitive mindset in terms of just trying to be the best. And as others elevate their best, we have to keep elevating our own, right?
Yes.
So I want to show you what I got for Christmas from Chief Slater. This is a little bit of a competition between the chiefs to who does the mayor like the best.
It's not much of a competition. We're hoping that the police chief can make it more of a competition.
Right.
Yeah.
But they want me to put this in my office to remind me that they are one team. They are the best chief combo in the country. I have absolutely no doubt about it.
And just to be transparent, there may be one in the police chief's office right now that I may have snuck in.
He does not know about it, probably.
Yeah.
Or does he?
He'll find it.
He'll find it eventually.
Yeah. He knows I did something.
Yeah.
I
think he always knows you've done something.
Yes.
But
yes.
I will reluctantly and happily and proudly put that in my office.
There you go. I do want to just kind of elaborate on your comment though about we are in competition with ourselves, but it's amazing how far we can go when we rely on each other. Oh, yeah. And competition is never about wanting your opponent to do poorly. Like when I was playing football and we have a banter back and forth about our football teams, I want them to be at the best when we play them. And whenever I've competed for a position within the organization, I wanted to go against the best and earn it. And I wanted to prove myself to myself. And I always would joke with Chief Matthew when he put me in as the deputy chief over medical operations. I walked in there with a chip on my shoulder. And I've told him this, and he never felt this way. We've had many a conversation. And I said, I wanted to prove to you that you picked the best person for this job, that you picked the person that will outperform and outwork anybody. And that was my drive. When I come to work early in the morning, that's my drive. And it's to be the best dang fire chief I can be for the people of this city and to develop the best dang firefighters for the next generation. So when my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids need help, they get the Ogden Fire Department.
Right.
So
and they get the best.
They get the best. Result.
Well, it's back to the mindset of constant growth. It's it's one of the primary values driving the Ogden Way is when I came, I wanted to make sure that everybody wasn't satisfied ever. Not that we don't celebrate wins, that we don't celebrate things of greatness and performance, etc., but that we don't rest on our laurels either.
Yeah.
And I want to surround myself with people that have that drive. I don't want to have to push and cajole and convince to people to have that drive. I seek out and select for people that have it.
Yeah.
So we talked about your upbringing and your work ethic. I love a good blue-collar work ethic with a strong mind and a strong intellectual curiosity and a drive to learn.
Yeah.
Thankfully you love to read and absorb and research and then execute and implement. Like I love that combination that you have of blue collar and white collar.
Yeah. Was it Jocko that always says, I'd rather have somebody pull out of a fight than somebody to push into a fight?
Right.
Right. And
Jocko Willink.
Yep. And so we put people in the positions that we have to pull them back a little bit. And those hard conversations. And if it's ever the individual or the person, myself included, that you have to push to do something, they're the wrong person for this organization. And I believe it's the book Good to Great, where it talks about it's not your biggest asset isn't just people, it's the right people.
Oh yeah.
And we're so fortunate, to be in a place with Ogden Fire to where we can be picky. And it's not about just putting people in positions. It's about hiring and promoting the right people. We had 372 applicants on our website to apply for Ogden Fire. We went to 87 of those are qualified, and we're going to narrow it down to 4. And we're going to pick the best. And
right.
if you fit our organization and you can be a dog, we don't have to push you into a fight. You'll thrive at Ogden Fire, and you'll be that next leader, that next chief of this organization.
Right. So you mentioned Jocko Willink and extreme ownership.
Yeah.
You mentioned Good to Great by Jim Collins, the hedgehog concept, and just these are the talks that we have about leadership. It's about Black Swan. Those are things that you read on your own time, as do I, because we're intellectually curious and we have a drive to be better and we want to continue to improve. At the end of the day, that becomes cultural is our hope, right?
Yeah.
I know that's cultural in your department, and when there's exceptions within the rank, they stand out.
Oh yeah.
But you just went 300 and something applied, 80 something qualified. We're going to narrow it down to 4. That's how you select for drive.
Yeah.
Being a dog, someone that wants to show up and work and isn't looking for relaxing and kicking back on the recliner. Those recliners in Ogden, they don't really get used much.
No.
They just don't.
Don't tell the police department that. They think they get used, but they don't.
Well, they might come in and use them in the shift. Maybe is that what?
Yeah, they might.
Is that what I hear?
Yeah. We give them a Snuggie and let them cuddle up for a second.
Back to the competition, right?
Back to the competition. Yeah.
In police, they say they hire for will over skill, and it doesn't mean that they don't have qualifications and skills, but where someone's lacking a skill, meaning an experience or something where they need to sharpen their edge on some expertise, we've learned that someone that has the will to acquire the skill is often better than someone that has the skill but doesn't have the will to continue to build on that skill, right?
We have the similar saying, ability, attitude over ability, right? Because we want somebody that comes in with the attitude that love their fellow human, and we'll teach you how to do other stuff. Like, you're going to get thrown in a system that will teach you to be a good firefighter. And we've got leaders that will not let you fail. But if you have the right attitude, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Right.
You'll knock the cap right off that thing. You know?
Well, thanks for being that kind of chief and driving that kind of culture, leading that kind of organization. I'm so proud of the Ogden Fire Department. There is no second. I mean, there is nobody better. I mean, we are the best department in the state for those reasons and more, right? Yeah. Is there anything we haven't covered today?
Oh, man, I don't know. I could talk for hours. You know, believe me. You know, why say in what's the saying? Why say in 5 words what you can say in 50? Right? I used to tell my old fire chief that, Mike Matthew. Like, why say in 5 words what you can say in 50?
He would say things in 5 words in 500.
Yeah.
We gave him a lot of crap for that.
But I will tell you, like, I am so grateful for the people, the influences in my life. From, you know, as sad as it is, my mom passed from cancer, 9-10 years ago. She fought a good fight for her life. But because of the influence that she put on me, for the people that took care of my mother, for the hard work ethic my dad taught me, for the lessons that prior fire captains, prior firefighters, and Chief Matthew taught me, and to the relationship I'm building with the mayor and the community here in Ogden City, I'm just so grateful to be a part of a team like this. Well,
these kinds of things that you and I are doing together are my favorite part of the job. It's the apolitical part that people don't know is required, and it's the overwhelming majority of the work and the need is this. It's administrative and leadership. It's collaboration and service to one another, right? It's we talk regularly, often, right? We talk long talks, sometimes late at night, because that's the only time that you and I have enough time to stop and actually talk again. There's just so much going on, right?
Yeah.
But thanks for being my chief.
Yeah.
Chief.
Thank you.
It means a lot to me. And when I say my chief, I want people to feel the same way. That's why you're here, is so that people can start to get to know you more. I know you're a pretty well-known guy around town because you've been here for a long time, but we had to take a little bit of a break there to give you some room since you were doing 4 jobs and get your command staff full, get those guys up and running, and they are. But now that you have a command staff, and now that we're coming into the budget cycle and the budget period for me to start my budget hearings, I really look forward to some structural mechanics of your department to help bring some of this prevention and risk reduction.
Yeah,
to bear.
The vision is great for Ogden City and Ogden City Fire, and I guess I'll make one last plug. I know we go into the holiday seasons, and I had this discussion. I sent you an end of watch report about we're getting prepared for maybe some of the depressions that hit during the holiday season. So I would ask to anybody that watches this, please just love your neighbor. If you haven't heard from a friend in a while, if you haven't, noticed anybody at that neighbor's house, kind acts of service go a long way with individuals. And when there's not a lot of sunlight outside and when people are missing their loved ones, what a perfect time to serve your neighbor and to lead with love.
That's right. So I get a end of watch report. And in this end of watch report, Chief Slater mentioned that we're coming into the holiday season, and this is a time that we need to be paying really close attention to our men and women of the department to make sure that we don't have anybody that's struggling with mental health issues. And I immediately called and said, what do we need to know? What do I need to know? What's going on? Who do we need to help? And your point was, it's not just it's an everybody. It's a human thing.
Yeah.
This time of year, the weather changes, the holidays come in. It's time to be thankful, but there's a lot of people out there that don't have as much to be thankful for. And right.
Yeah.
So that's a really good segue into maybe a call to action for the episode. If you're out there and you know somebody that needs help, somebody that is without, and we all know somebody, and I hope that we're all the kind of people that are going to reach out and lend a hand. We do that kind of work here every day. I know that we're that kind of city, we're that kind of community, and let's live the ethos of the Ogden Way by being the kind of city that wraps our arms around each other and helps each other lift and to get to a point of success. And I think that's one of the most unique parts about Ogden is that's what we do. It's in our ethos, but let's remind each other to be on the lookout for people that are struggling and suffering from mental health. Let's intervene and make sure that there are access and connections to resources, right?
That's a great point.
The support's out there.
Yep.
The resources are there. Whether you're in the department, if you're a firefighter for our department and you need help, we have resources for you, and we will bring the best resources to help you, right?
Absolutely.
And the same goes for anybody in the city and the community. Chief Slater, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else you want to add before we go?
I think I'm good. Go Bears.
Oh my gosh. It's so painful that you were finally good.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Chief Slater's a Bears fan. I'm a Packers fan. My family came from the Upper Peninsula of Wisconsin, and I've most always had bragging rights on Chief Slater, but this year it's been a struggle.
It's tough.
I mean, we got you last week.
We'll see what happens Saturday.
But we just lost to Denver, and we got the Bears again next week, and you guys are playing really well. You guys took it to the Browns, who are not good. But anyway.
Took it to the Browns that beat the Packers. We got to throw that out there.
I know. How do we lose to the Browns? Anyway. Okay, enough about that. Now you know a little bit about our relationship, but that relationship's important for our leadership. And Chief Slater, thanks for your leadership in Ogden City. Thank you for leading with love, and thank you for helping to do your part to build the best department in the state of Utah.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, I'm Ogden City Mayor Ben Nadolski. This is the Ogden Way Podcast. Let's get out there and do good things and do them for the right reasons, and let's be our best selves. Thanks, everybody.